So the Bruins lost last night in overtime. That's really...
It is the greatest collapse in Boston sports history.
Yeah, I want to preface with this. Matt is very emotionally attached to the Bruins.
I am.
And I know nothing really about hockey. Mm-hmm. So before we say some crazy things, just wanted to preface with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So two ends of a spectrum.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the greatest sports collapse in Boston sports history. It's worse than the 07 Pats. That's probably where your mind goes. Okay. It's worse than them, in my opinion.
I don't know if it is worse than the 07 Pats.
I think it is because they have the same record. Greatest record ever,
yeah.
Right? Basically the equivalent, because obviously you can't go undefeated in hockey.
Right.
That's insane.
Right.
Greatest record ever. The Pats made it to the Super Bowl and lost, and they choked bad. The Bruins didn't make it out of the first round, and I could argue they choked worse.
Yeah, but
in a
I
single
feel
game.
like, again, don't know much about hockey, but I feel like this happens in hockey. Like, it happened to the Lightning. It feels like first-round upsets are not as, like, crazy rare in hockey.
That's fair.
Like, it seemed like if that Pats team lost in the first round, it would have been like, holy shit. They lost to the, like, Jaguars in the divisional round.
Right.
Like, what the fuck?
Mm.
But now it's kind of like 7-game series. Like, this Panthers team is tough. They had the most points last year.
Yeah, they were the President's Trophy winners last year.
Yeah, and, like, they didn't win.
Yeah. No,
like,
true.
it just seems to happen. Like, the President's Trophy curse, like, is a thing.
Real. Yeah.
But, like, it just seems like losing in the first round in hockey isn't as crazy. Obviously, this year, for the Bruins, it's, like, amplified because they broke the wins record and everything. But it feels like I would rather this loss than the Patriots losing the Super Bowl.
I mean, in the context, I would rather them lose because the Bruins haven't won anything. But in a vacuum, I guess it's a different story. For me, it's just like I've never seen a sports team that I support be more dominant in the regular season. Even in the Pats, I didn't watch them when I was 5 years old in 07, but so I like, and there's been some good Boston sports teams, but this has easily been the most dominant for me. And it's like they were not even the same hockey team. It was like unbelievable. I actually equate it to, it's similar in just in terms of what I remember to when the Patriots lost in 2011 to the Jets, because that was in an earlier round. The Patriots were really good that year, but heading into that game, there was all this like sort of bad energy around it, the Bart Scott stuff, the Wes Welker stuff, and they just lose, and they just were so flat, and it was this whole thing, and like a much inferior team. So that's really where my mind goes when I think about this, and it's like, it's just unbelievable.
I'm not gonna lie, the vibes going into the playoffs for me was like, this team won't win a cup. I don't want to say it's just the President's Trophy curse. Like, I just felt like they didn't have it for some reason. Like, there's too much pressure. There's too much buildup. The guys, like, at the end of the day, are on the older side. Like, they can't skate as hard as some of the other. Like, the Panthers were winning every battle on the boards that game. They just seemed to want it more.
Yep.
Which
is crazy.
They probably did.
Yeah. They just came out with nothing to lose. It's really... You saw it in the way they turned the puck over in their own zone. That, for me, is where the nerves set in. Because that's something they didn't do all year.
Not happening, yeah.
At all. And, like, all of a sudden they're making these weird... Like, they're playing scared in their own end. That's totally a nerves thing.
Yeah.
So you could tell it got to them. And it's just like... I don't know how much longer I can do this with them. Like, it's like every other year, it feels like, just because it's so magnified every time. And maybe this is karma, because the first sports season I followed was the 2011 Bruins.
Okay.
And they just went on the greatest run ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that playoff run was unbelievable
awesome.
from them. And then ever since then, 2013, 2 goals in 17 seconds. By the way, the years in between that, every time they were great. They were competing. They made the playoffs about every year, and they were always competing. They always choked. 2019 happens, Game 7 at home, and the Game 7 at home in 2019 was so similar to the Game 7 this year, where it was just like, they just came out and were like, you know? It's like, what are we doing? Like,
it's not great. I, again, didn't watch a ton of regular season hockey, I'll say. And we were talking earlier about how, like, this team just doesn't seem to be the same team. Like, this is not the team that I was told there should be.
Nope.
The goalie thing was weird.
The goalie thing was really weird.
So, like, Linus hadn't started 6 games in a row all season, and then you get to the playoffs and you start him 6 straight games. Like, it seemed like they were doing 2-1, 2-1, 2-1-ish, 3-1, whatever. So, like, why didn't they integrate that at all?
It's just because the stigma is like, well, you can't do that in the playoffs. It's like, why?
Why not? That's what we were doing all year.
Exactly. Yeah. And it kind of showed.
I mean, it did.
he was an
He
absolute.
let in a lot of kind
absolute
of
pumpkin.
shitty goals.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was just.
But like no one really played well besides my boy Bertuzzi.
Bertuzzi played great, but even Bertuzzi had like one really detrimental pass in his own zone in one of those games. And like even McAvoy for me was the poster child of that, because McAvoy had like amazing moments in the series, but he also had a couple, especially in Game 7, where I was like, "What are you doing?"
That's
like
big. Yeah.
Like I just don't understand. It's so scared. Taylor Hall. Do you hear Taylor Hall's name once in Game 7?
No,
he was like our best player through the first 3 games. If I told you Taylor Hall was a scratch, you'd be like, "Oh, was he really?"
Yeah.
Like how does that happen?
Yeah.
I don't understand. He's MVP a few years ago. Like he looked like he wasn't awake. Overtime was unbelievable. Like the fact that you let a team score with 59 seconds left in a closeout Game 7, like I don't know what that is, but like how on earth does that happen? I don't understand.
With a minute left.
Like it's like every fucking time with these dudes. It's just always in the most heart-wrenching way possible.
It is, yeah. It takes a lot of years off your life.
It really does. Like it's just you have so much invested in these dudes, and the worst part for me is this. You rewind to last year, which is a much different story. They came into the playoffs with a lot of questions, and they just got beat. And it was just like, I remember last year they were like basically just hoping Bergeron, Marchand, and Pastrnak carried them, and it obviously didn't work. And it was like, man, this is probably Bergeron's last run. Then Bergeron basically is like one more year, re-ups, comes back. They're the best team. They're the best statistical hockey team in the 107-year history of the NHL. And then they just come in. It's like, how are you this flat?
Yeah, do we want to talk about Bergie?
Yeah, let's talk about Bergeron. I got a whole thing on Patrice Bergeron.
Okay, I'll let you get into it then. I don't want to.
Patrice Bergeron is the best. I mean, this guy is like the
best two-way center.
He's the best two-way center in the history of the game, in my opinion. Yeah. He's a 5-time Selke winner. He's going to win it again this year, so 6-time Selke winner. He's a lock to be a Hall of Famer. The fact that he has won Cup is absurd with the context. It's not like he's playing on Edmonton. It's not like he was on Florida. He was on an original 6 team that was competitive every single year. He made 3, won 1, and was on the team that had that won the ring, broke the wins record.
Unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer.
I would say so.
I don't really know how the Hockey Hall of Fame works, but I have been there.
Yeah, nice.
I did go there.
Something about Bergeron that isn't talked about a lot. This is a guy who, in 2020, donated like the most out of any athlete to like racial equality groups.
Damn.
In his whole career, he's established this thing called Patrice's Pals, which let me just read off like the organizations that he donates to and benefits. Children's Hospital Boston, Cam Neely Foundation, Franciscan Hospital for Children, Joslin Diabetes Center, Mass General Hospital for Children, Make-A-Wish Foundation, Big Brother and Big Sister of Massachusetts, Big Square at YMCA, Shriners Hospital, Spalding Rehabilitation Possible. He does this thing with the children. They come to the games, like a bunch of games a year. He does it every year. They get to come to the game in Patrice's luxury suite. Includes dinner, beverages, one of the best seats in the entire garden. They also have like personal video recognitions of these kids like all the time on the scoreboard. Yeah. This is all through like Patrice Bergeron. Dang. He's been an absolute like staple of this community and of this team and of Boston the last 15-ish years that he's been on this team. And I just like, he's the best. And he's like my childhood in sport. Like it's him and Brady and Ortiz really that were like the guys forever. And now Ortiz, Brady, sure. And now it's like, just to see him go and to see this core go with 1 cup is ridiculous. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The Krejci thing, Krejci has the most assists in Game 7s. By the way, why are there in so many fucking Game 7s? Like, it's like they kept showing these graphics.
So that was he had the most Game 7s ever tied with Chara?
Tied with Chara.
Yeah. And he's like, hopefully he can get to playing more. I was thinking in my head, hopefully not. Hopefully he just wins in 5.
Yes. Like, the fact that they have... That him and Chara have tied for the most Game 7s in playoff in history, in the history of the league.
14.
And they have 1 cup.
Yeah.
And that was 12 years ago when they were both like relatively young. Like
they probably have up there with the most playoff games.
It's up there, yes.
1 cup.
Yeah, probably.
1 championship, most playoff games.
I'm sure that's a stat somewhere. Yeah. I mean, it's just they're so much better, and it's not like And what's crazy is I've been hard on the Bruins organization the last couple of years. That organization has done everything right this year. Like Sweeney went out and gave up. We don't have a first-round pick till like 2026.
Yeah, and no, next year the Leafs have it.
Just mortgaged the farm basically for everyone, and as they should have done. And now we're here.
I know. I'm sure Pasta's gonna love that.
Yeah, good thing we got him locked up.
Yeah, for a while.
A while.
McAvoy's young.
McAvoy's young, and he'll be great, but like.
And we got Swayman. Swayman's young.
Linus will stick around. I mean, but what are you going to do?
Swayman's young. Swayman's like 22 or something.
And I feel bad for Swayman. I don't know if you saw his post-game presser, but he was like, I owed the boys one more save. Like, I just couldn't get it done. And I'm like, you played really solid.
You fucking couldn't, dude.
No, you played really solid for like 3 shots instead of like, So, I mean, it's just brutal. Like, and Bergeron was playing, but also Bergeron was playing with a herniated disc the whole time. That's, like, I remember Tony Romo had that injury and kept him out of, like, for the year.
Well,
and, like,
he's not hockey tough.
Exactly. But, I mean.
Although Tony Romo was kind of hockey tough.
He was a tough guy.
Yeah, he was kind of hockey tough.
He was a gamer, and so.
And Krejci was like.
The fact Krejci was balling.
Dude, Krejci looks like he has, like, you might not understand this, but, like, his neck looked old. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You could see the back of his neck. He had, like, the gray hairs, and it was, like, old and wrinkly.
Yep.
He looked old from
38,
just the back of his neck.
Yep.
Looked old.
These are old dudes. And
I think Marchand's
old, too. Marchand was a rookie in 2011 when they won it all.
Okay.
So
I think Bergeron might be older than Krejci.
Yeah, it's one of them's 38, one of them's 37. I think, around there. So, I mean, Bergeron came into the league. He could not speak a lick of English. Like, he came into the league as, like, a 19-year-old for the Bruins.
That's so sick, dude.
Yeah, he's been around forever. So,
that's crazy. Like, most of his life, he's been on the Bruins.
Yes. And, I mean, he's Boston through and through now, you know what I mean? And that's what's very great to see him wear the C the last couple of years after Chara left. But, like, I just don't know if I can keep doing this with them. Like,
well, you won't have to worry about any of the boys anymore.
Yeah.
Like, Bergeron will be gone. Krejci will be gone. Marchand's got, what, a couple more years left?
Yeah, he might be gone. I wouldn't be shocked if Marchand is like, if Bergeron's out, I'm out. You know what I mean? Like, he could play, but he's been around forever, too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people think he's lost a step. So, I just, like, it's tough, man.
Yeah, no,
these guys, like, it really shows you, as a Boston sports fan, what it's like to be, like, a Buffalo fan or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, it's brutal.
Yeah, it's a double bummer, too, because next year they're going to be terrible.
You would think.
Not terrible, but, like, I mean, there's no way you can ever be as good as you were this year.
And with this sort of, like, hangover,
it's like an automatic regression.
Automatic.
Because you can't be this good.
And even regardless, even if they won the cup, they'd be worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
And they have this historic disappointment. So good luck making the playoffs next year.
3 straight home losses in the Garden.
I might never watch hockey ever again.
How many home losses did they have throughout the year?
Under 5. I think it was 4. I think they had 4 home losses.
3 straight in the playoffs.
You're telling me you can't beat the Florida Panthers, who barely squeaked in the playoffs, at home 4 times?
Dude, the Panthers are tough. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of in on the Panthers team. Like, I hope they win it all now. I hope they smoke the Leafs.
I hope they smoke the Leafs. I hope they destroy the Leafs. I mean, this is what hockey is, which is your dad said it earlier. It becomes a completely different sport in the playoffs. It's the only sport like that in my opinion.
It's like get in and you never know.
It is a completely
you get in,
different
you
sport.
never know.
I mean, in 2012, the Kings won it. They were an 8 seed. They just won it all. So, I mean.
Yeah. I mean, is it really like, but I feel like all sports are still like that.
No, but I don't think to the extent as hockey.
I mean, the Bucks lost.
No, and that's crazy. But, like, when do we see it? We don't see that much. We see it, like, every fucking year in the NHL.
So that's what I'm saying earlier about the.
I know. But, I mean, this was just historic.
No, it was. It was.
I feel like we were saying earlier, like, Boston's always good, but they never have these, like, historically good regular seasons. All of a sudden they did this year.
Okay, yeah.
And it was
fair.
like, man, just sucks, man.
Both times we had historic teams.
In 07.
Yeah,
that was the 2 times, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
Dude, I was saying it's tough being a Boston sports fan.
It's hard.
We have nothing.
Oh, when's the last time we won a title? 4 years ago?
I can't even remember.
I can't keep doing this, man.
I was like 17 last time we won a title.
Oh, that's crazy. It's been a long time.
Expectations are always through the roof, man.
I might never watch hockey again.
If I never watched hockey again, I'd be like, damn. Yeah. That's a bummer.
I mean, it's just like it was really one of those, and it's, what's crazy is like 3 separate times this series when they lost, I was like, look myself in the mirror, am I okay?
Yeah.
As like beyond the hockey game.
Yeah.
Like, am I all right?
Yeah, like when you have like 8 beers, you go into the bathroom and take a piss, and you like look in the mirror, you're like, hey, am I all right?
Exactly. But this was just totally sober, watching the Bruins lose.
Am I okay?
Am I okay?
Yeah. But you're good, right?
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know. It's wild.
I'll have someone check in on you. I was on the phone earlier with someone.
Mm-hmm, sure.
Yeah. And he was like, yeah, I gotta call my friend. Like, she's not okay over the Bruins lost.
Yeah. No.
Got to do like a a check-in.
I mean, every single time when growing up, when this would happen, because it happened all the time, my dad, I'm not talking to him for a week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's not talking to anybody.
Yeah.
It is.
That is nuts. That he texted you.
Yep.
Last night, and what did he say?
He was like,
I'm not watching overtime.
No, I cannot handle this. I'm going to bed. Fuck this.
Yeah, and did he text you today?
He texted me today. I'm in an information blackout.
Okay.
So, there you go. So it's terrible.
It's a bummer.
It's a bummer, and it's just what I've actually come to expect. And I just can't keep doing this.
Would you rather?
I was watching the game in overtime, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep watching. I want this to be over, and it ended, and there it was.
Would you rather never watch hockey again or lose 3 toes?
Never. I mean, I really enjoy watching hockey.
Yeah, and you don't need all your toes really, but balance.
Balance is huge. It'd be trickier to play soccer. If it's my left foot, I'd be all right.
I guess.
That's a tricky question.
That's the whole point of it.
Yeah. I don't know.
It would also be kind of cool, though, to be missing 3 toes.
It would be cool.
I just got 2 on 1 foot.
Yeah, check this out.
Or you could split them up, 2 on 1 maybe.
Maybe, something like that.
But it would also be cool to be like, no, that wouldn't be very cool. Hey, you want to watch the hockey game? I can't. I really can't.
I have 10 toes.
Yeah. I can't.
I have a little coward analogy to wrap us up. The 2023 Boston Bruins are the equivalent of Game of Thrones.
Man, I haven't seen that, so I haven't seen either.
let me walk you through.
Okay.
Season 1 through 5 of Game of Thrones is
wheelchair kid wins.
That's true, which is
spoiler alert.
Part of my analogy. The wheelchair kid is essentially the equivalent of Matt Tkachuk winning.
Dude, no, Tkachuk or whatever. I'm sorry. Get into it. I love him.
He stinks. He's
from the Cape.
That's so represent. True. Melrose is his dad. Seasons 1 through 5. This is probably the greatest show of all time.
Okay.
1 through 6, probably the greatest.
Lots
show
of boobs, right?
A lot of boobs.
Okay.
Right. A lot of things.
Dicks.
Some dicks.
Balls.
I can't recall, but I'm sure I wouldn't be shocked.
Butts.
Some butts.
Okay.
1 through 6 is the greatest show of all time. 7 and 8. 7's like, oh, what's going on here? That's the beginning of the series. Season 8 of Game of Thrones is Game 7. I mean,
okay, the worst part of your life.
The worst part of the biggest disappointment in TV history, the biggest disappointment in Boston sports history. They're the one and the same.
Yeah, people really weren't a fan of that.
It was horrible. I mean,
was it bad or was it just they chose the wrong dude?
It was just bad. It was real bad. So they did this whole thing where they set up amazingly, 4 characters just went through this unbelievable transformation over the course of 10 years, and then at the last they're like, never mind.
We're just gonna give it to a wheelchair kid.
Yeah, we're reverting. It's not even about that. They're just let's just Jamie. This character Jamie.
It's a metaphor for the Make-A-Wish Foundation that Bergie sponsors. The wheelchair kid.
Got it. It's a metaphor for the Bruins. This guy Jamie was a dick. His whole thing was a dick. Terrible person.
Sounds awful.
His whole thing was he's redeeming a great person all the way through season 7. Okay. He was great. It's very rewarding.
Like Deshaun Watson.
I mean, starting point wise, it's not far off.
Okay.
And then in season 8, Jamie just kills a bunch of people, and that's just it, and then dies.
Okay.
So yeah. So
hopefully not Deshaun Watson, because we'd be in the middle of the career arc.
That would be bad. Yeah. So, I mean, Danny setting King's Landing on fire is the equivalent of Linus Ullmark giving to Chuck that ball, that puck.
Okay.
I mean, it's just it's bad.
Huh.
It's similar. And I was extraordinarily disappointed and heartbroken by both.
All right.
So moving on, I don't really want to talk about the Bruins ever again.
That's fine with me.
So,
although we are doing this whole Boston sports podcast.
So that's I was about to announce we will no longer be covering the Bruins.
Fine.
On this sports show.
You sold me.
Yep. So
bummer.
I'm gonna take a minute and we'll be back unless you have anything else to add.
No, I don't have much to add. I think that I don't have anything else to add.
Cool.
That's what I think.
Cool.